Alright, hello everybody and welcome back to the Summit 4. This is LGD Gaming versus Newbie. I'm Basskip here on Beyond the Summit 2, and this is a lower bracket best of 3 for survival between these two teams. Have a quick look at how... Well, it's a little bit difficult, I think, actually to size up these two teams at the moment. LGD were directly invited to the Frankfurt Major. Newbie had to qualify through. LGD been playing in Nanyang recently, but had a pretty disappointing performance overall. Dropping out in the very first round of the playoffs to cdec. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how these two teams match up. And with that, we've got a draft underway. So switch that over, get you guys some in-game audio, and we can get ourselves underway. So the patch is out, and I was wondering if Doom was still going to be sitting on his throne in terms of pretty much consistently always being first pick ban material, and looks like he is still going to be here. LGD have already chewed through a little bit of their reserve time. I don't know if they were a tiny bit late getting into the lobby or whatnot, but worth pointing out. And Newbie looks like they have a pretty good read on LGD, just going to be getting rid of the Tusk and the Doom. I think the Tusk has been pretty much one of the most successful heroes for LGD so far this patch. The other interesting thing that I was digging up just in doing preparation for this was that LGD have actually been doing a lot better on the Radiant side than they have been on the Dire, but they opted for first pick here, so it's going to be Newbie who ends up over on the Radiant, but it's actually a pretty staggering difference. LGD are 56% win rate on the Radiant and only about 30% on the Dire, and their overall win rate for this patch is pretty unimpressive at sub 40% right now. Newbie comparatively have been doing a lot better. Yeah, the nerfs are relatively minor on Doom, so it looks like team's still not going to be willing to let him through. And LGD, somewhat surprisingly, I think, are just going to end up picking up the Darks here right out of the gate. It is RTK in the captain's chair, so it does perhaps make a little bit more sense with that context, but we'll see what heroes they look to layer on top of this, and as they try to make good use of the vacuum. So could still see a little bit of Gyrocopter. He's still been somewhat popular as of late. Winter Wyvern is the other hero that comes to mind, that if it doesn't get picked up is probably going to end up being banned out by Newbie, and Newbie, nothing too shocking, are just going to end up going for the Earthshaker. I think we've seen a fall off in popularity of Earthshaker as of late, and I think a lot of the discussion at Nanyang focused around sort of Tusk coming into his own and really sort of pushing Earthshaker out of the spotlight, and the fact that dual lanes would become more and more prevalent. And Earthshaker isn't really much of a dual lane hero, but Newbie going to pick up another big popular hero so far this patch. That's the Ember Spirit. LGD have been picking it a lot for Maybe as well, and he's been pretty successful with it. So I think grabbing it for themselves and getting the deny pick is pretty significant. And an Ember Spirit with an Ion Shell running around in the mid game is just an absolute terror. So good to see Newbie kind of denying that initial combo, but LGD is still going to get some AoE, as they do just pick up their 2 cores right out of the gate here. So I think even more incentive for Newbie to consider banning out a couple of supports, maybe including that Winter Wyvern. The ultimate can be a little bit difficult for the Ember Spirit to deal with, and that is something that LGD lack so far, is lockdown for that Ember Spirit. So we could see something like the MMY Lion coming out. I know he's very fond of that hero and plays it extremely well, and that pairing dates all the way back to Dota 1 and MMY being called Weapon X and playing Lion on the mid lane, in fact. So hopefully we'll get to see a little bit of that here, though Newbie may end up getting rid of it, and LGD could have other plans. They've got a pretty good 5-man centric lineup so far, but breaking high ground against the Earthshaker and the Ember Spirit is always going to be tough. So I think LGD are going to have to make sure that they don't brush head over heels, don't pick too heavy of a push strat, and we'll still be ready to sort of take this if it goes into the later stages of the game. Newbie just going to grab themselves a Dazzle, helped counteract the effects of the Shadow Fiend minus armor a little bit with the Weave. Pretty good hero actually to have in lane against the Darkseer. You don't really care too much about throwing out Shadow Wave nukes to clear out Ion Shells and keep your carry from getting pushed too far underneath the tower, so it does help to secure farm in that way, and pretty good zoning support in his own right, so it helps to make up for some of the weakness of the Earthshakers. So probably just going to be seeing Dazzle chilling out on that safe lane. Might free Earthshaker up to go and roam towards mid, try and set up some ganks on the relatively susceptible Shadow Fiend. And that's one thing that I feel like we haven't been seeing a whole lot of recently, is a whole lot of rotations on mid. It's a very safe lane, but in general, I feel like mid players these days, and I think it's also partially due to off-lane play improving, but it's much harder for supports to sneak away and to get things done by roaming over towards the mid lane. And it's always a little bit of a gamble. Your supports could instead be helping to win mid by just stacking a camp. And stacking a camp is a 100%, pretty much 100% guaranteed move, and it's always pretty much going to help your mid laner, unless you've got RTK running around on Darkseer and stealing your stacks. But compared to ganking, where you can always get turned around on, you don't exactly know where the enemy supports are. The enemy supports could scout you as you're smoking up. So it's sort of let heroes like Shadow Fiend really get away with murder on mid lane. But anyway, drafts proceeded a little bit. We had Viper banned out by LGD, so it looks like they're actually a little bit worried about Newbie being the ones active and aggressive in the early game. The Winter Wyvern and the Lion both made it through in the second round of bans, so LGD are going to grab that Lion for themselves. Again, just a total MMY signature, so really looking forward to seeing a little bit of that this game. And Newbie just end up grabbing themselves an Alchemist. So they've still got a ridiculously difficult high ground to push up into. They've now got quite a lot of minus armor as well between the Acid Spray and the Weave. So once Ember Spirit starts getting up some items, I think he's going to be pretty scary moving into towards the later stages of the game. And LGD just going to grab themselves a Jug. So still gives them that pushing angle. I think they're still looking alright if this game does end up dragging out a little bit. So that's always going to be good for them. But they should be able to sort of pick and push their way through the mid-game. I do wonder what kind of builds we're going to be seeing between the Darkseer and the Shadow Fiend, since they're both viable mech carriers. Though maybe we'll just see something like maybe the Shadow Blade build out of the Shadow Fiend. That's been popular with Weeha and Envy on Team Secret as of late. Or they could put the mech on the Shadow Fiend and get the Darkseer a little bit faster towards his Blink Dagger to try and set up some combos with the Lion. Alternatively, could start working even towards a relatively early Hex, perhaps, though that seems somewhat unlikely. Hex is a kind of underwhelming item on the whole right now, but they've got the built-in Lion Hex, and hopefully that's going to be enough for them to deal with the Ember Spirit here, because that's pretty much all the lockdown that they have for him. If he survives the initial round of lockdown, maybe with a Grave, I think this Ember is going to be very difficult to deal with. And yeah, Newbie just going to end up banning out that Winter Wyvern a little bit later than I was expecting, especially given that LGD opened with Darkseer in the first two, but they're still going to be pretty happy, I think, to get the ban out here. So Newbie looking to round out their lanes with, I'm not exactly sure what, I guess probably just their offlane hero. I don't know if the Ember Spirit's going to be heading safe lane or if he's going to be heading mid, so we'll have to see who picks up what and see where we go from there. But the read from LGD is that Newbie are still just looking for their solo off lane. So I think Clock, pretty solid ban out. Again, I don't think they can put together any kind of a dual lane, because I think the Dazzle is really being committed to stop the to help stop the Darkseer on bottom, and Earthshaker is not a good dual lane hero at all. So probably just a full defensive tri lane from Newbie, and just need someone who's going to be able to cope with this offlane kill pressure, which is pretty hard. Lion and Juggernaut is a lot of damage and a lot of lockdown. So what can they go for? There's still a Magnus in the pool. He's pretty good with both the Alk and the Ember. It's not the most impressive game so far from the perspective of giving any Ags over. And I have been talking about this the whole time in the context of assuming that Alchemist is going to be played in a core role, similar to what we've been seeing Super on Vici running his core Alk, but that could be totally off. It could be a supporty kind of Alk, but no, looks like Newbie just going to grab the Bane, so I think that pushes Earthshaker to the off lane and gives them a little bit of roaming potential. Regardless of whether or not it's the Ember Spirit or the Alchemist mid, I think the Bane Sleep is actually pretty good setup to be able to grab a kill on the Shadow Fiend. And we could even see something dual lane-esque starting out on the mid lane. The Alchemist is there farming, the Bane just harasses the Shadow Fiend, puts an Enfeeble on him, gives him a few auto attacks, backs up, stacks the jungle for the Alk, and then kind of goes from there, as LGD will just round things out with the Night Stalker. So they are looking to get up in Newbie's face. They're going to have Ion Shelled Night Stalker and Jug running around. They've got the Healing Ward. They should have a relatively early mech. And hopefully Lion gets some space early on with the Jug moving into the jungle to be able to pick up his Blink. So LGD game plan looks solid. It's going to be up to Newbie to see if they can weather the early assault and kind of hold on to their towers, and then maybe start to turn it around a little bit from there. They're no slouches in the early game either. They've got pretty good fighting potential with the Ember Spirit and the Dazzle and the Bane. Alchemist can kind of join in depending on what kind of build he goes, but we'll see. It is How, so you know, renowned for being a relatively aggressive carry. So we'll see what happens.
5 seconds remaining.
But just gotta wait. I'm just gonna wait on MMY to pick up his line. Maybe he's cracking his knuckles, getting ready. Knows that he has to make some pretty big plays for this game. So let's get into it. Have a quick pause, but it looks like we are immediately ready to go. So this is LGD versus Newbie, best of 3 here for the Summit 4 China qualifier, and this is game 1 here in the lower bracket. So both of these two teams fighting for survival and fighting to move just a little bit further on in the tournament. So getting things underway over on LGD, we have Sylar on Juggernaut, MMY online. I feel like I've talked about him enough. We've got maybe on Shadow Fiend, DDC going to be handling Night Stalker with some boots first here, and finally we have RTK on his first pick, Darkseer heading towards the off lane. Meanwhile for Newbie, we've got Banana on the Bane, we've got Moo on Ember, Chesbug on the Dazzle, it's going to be How over on the Alchemist, and finally we have Tule on the Earthshaker with boots first picked up for himself. And How with this Quelling Blade just clearing out some trees at the moment, looking to get some double stacks going on over here, and it looks like it is going to be that Alchemist starting out in the mid lane. Did we have any cheeky TPs out to place wards? No, looks like all the supports just kind of walked out into position, and Newbie really just prioritizing on keeping their side of the map on lockdown, not really poking anything up towards the top side. So it's going to make life pretty difficult in the off lane, but looks like they're really just trying to retreat back into their shell and make sure that they keep their jungle protected for easy farm. So How grabs the bounty, nice start for him. Maybe gonna grab one himself, and that's just gonna be the salve coming out. And we'll see where we go from here. Tule probably just gonna block the off lane, get it under his tower, and maybe secure his level 2. No, just gonna up to body block it for the time being. We'll see if he can get the range creep out in front. Yeah, really getting the range creep out in front there. Alright, so not gonna immediately force the lane all the way back, but I think this is the better kind of long run move. It's not gonna be the Bane helping out the Alk on mid as I was anticipating. It's actually the Dazzle, so looks like Bane is actually going to be the one who's trying to deal with the Darkseer, but DDC getting in on the action as well, but looks like he's had enough and he's just going to leave the very experienced dependent Shadow Fiend to kind of fend for himself here. What's DDC up to? They don't have a block on the pole, so he's going to come in here with the sentry and block that one out. He has been spotted by the Radiant Observer as he makes his way through though, so Banana going to come and say hello, but doesn't really want to trade hits against the Night Stalker this early on. RTK already off to a pretty good start. Has grabbed his level 2. They get the slow on to Moo. He's in a lot of trouble. That last auto attack from DDC almost went out, but just got interrupted by the leveled up Searing Chains. So Moo holding onto his skill point there is actually, I think, going to save his life and able to just salve right back up. But already a lot of really pressure from this dual lane. Maybe struggling a little bit. Actually, not struggling at all on mid lane. What am I talking about? 6 and 4. He's doing great. He even picked up the first point in Necromastery, so did not have any raises to secure his early farm and get towards his bottle, but looks like he's going to be just fine. And Chesbug's now made his way down to bottom to help to continue to secure this Ember Spirit. But RTK is going to grab level 3 pretty soon, and that's where things start getting a little bit scarier for Newbie, but still doing alright on CS, 7 and 3, not too shabby. 2-minute rune's gonna pop up, and it's a haste on MMY. They're gonna look for this kill on Tule Sylar. Just the 1 point in the Blade Fear at the moment, but they come in. A couple auto attacks thrown out. Sylar now starts at the spin. They've both got boots, but Tule gives them the loop around the tower, and that's actually gonna be a lot of regen lost for LGD and Sylar are going to end up having his salve cancelled. Oh man, that was a huge win, I think, for Tule, actually. The lane pushed because they tried for the kill, so he's going to grab some free experience. Sylar's now pretty low.
Dire's middle
Yeah,
tower
all in all,
is
not
under
a
attack.
very successful move. Maybe if they'd had the level 2 Blade Fury, could have gone for it, but Tule going to be pretty happy with the outcome there. How are they fending off this bottom lane? Night Stalker's got level 2, Darkseer's got that level 3, so rank 2 Iron Shell coming up is going to be able to grab his Soul Ring in a second. How? All of this path through the trees hasn't really amounted to anything so far, and maybe is giving him extremely hard time on this mid lane here. Just sitting up on the hill, getting a bunch of denies. 16 and 10 so far. How? Coming in to trade a few hits, but it's going to end up coming out worse for the exchange, I think. We get a Nightmared Iron Shell DDC off to the side, spots Chizbug, who's holding his skill points at the moment. Just to see what he needs. And move, level 4, running forward. Saying hello to LGD. Doesn't want to put up the Flame Guard too early in case it gets immediately dispelled by a Void and the Iron Shells, but at least making his presence felt in the lane here, though they are getting pretty heavily out-farmed by the Jug and the Shadow Fiend so far. 4-minute runes popping up. Chizbug gonna try for the deny from the high ground, perhaps. Tango's forward. Nice! Gets it! Alright, Chizbug making some plays there. And that's gonna mean that maybe he's gonna be forced to bottle card this out. Already had the courier heading over to him, so already kind of anticipated that he might not get the rune, but that was some pretty sick play. Meanwhile, got action bottom lane. RTK in some trouble. Left behind by DDC, and Newbie just gonna pounce, come in and get an easy first blood. Alright, so a couple of losses for LGD. Meanwhile, mid lane action, maybe dropping low. DDC running in, still 4 seconds on the Void. Tanking tower shots, but it's gonna think twice about this. Maybe one more tower shot, one more auto attack from Tule. He's trying to make his way up the hill, but maybe drops the double raise. And they are gonna find at least the 1 kill. It's not the Earthshaker, it's not the Alchemist, but it is at least something. So 1 for 1. RTK was even TPing in, ready to get involved, but his participation is not going to be required. As LGD look for some damage on this tower. There's still a glyph available, and Tule just going to TP in and pull this off no problem. He's not really going to get any help, I think, in this off lane, but does still want to try and hold on to his tower as long as humanly possible. What do we got? Nightmare down on the bottom rune. RTK caught out in the middle of no man's land. Drops the surge, but immediately interrupted by the Searing Chains. Tries to get denied by Roshan, but no dice. He definitely was not expecting all 3 of the Newbie bottom lane heroes to be right there, but down he goes once again. No vision whatsoever for LGD on this bottom side of the map. So I kind of emphasized how hard of a time the Earthshaker was being set up to have, with no lane ward, nothing really protecting him at all, but the same is very true of this offlane Darkseer for LGD, so we'll see if those deaths are going to be enough of a deterrent for RTK to maybe start heading into the jungle, because a delayed mech could spell trouble. DDC gets a few auto attacks into Tule. Banana is going to be TPing in here, but maybe it's just around the corner. 1 raise, couple of auto attacks. Nice easy kill, and maybe still has an invis rune, so looks like he wants to push a little bit further forward. He knows that there's a low HP Earthshaker still in the neighborhood. Courier flies over the top. Maybe, does he spot it? No, not quite. They still see the Earthshaker over. Tranquil Boots giving him a little bit of a heal. Gets silenced, they miss the raise, there's still the Void. Looks like the dive will continue. Too late. Had a Fissure, but silenced just a little bit too long during the nighttime. How, meanwhile, dropping extremely low, just trying to clear out this jungle stack. And build so far not really indicating that he's going to be going for anything too crazy early game. Does have 3 points up in the Acid Spray, so that should hopefully help hold on to towers, but looks like Newbie's still kind of relying on this go late game plan more than anything. I don't know how they're going to help this Earthshaker out. I mean, Tule's done a pretty good job so far, but has already been slowed down by 2 deaths. Has his levels, but I don't know where he's going to find his Blink Dagger this game, unfortunately. And DDC still on the prowl. Ward spotted Tule making his way up into the lane. There is a TP scroll available. And there should be some backup from the rest of his team as well. MMY turns around, goes up the Hex, tanking a few more tower shots. DDC's blocking him! Awkward moments abound as Chizbug's gonna TP in, and Tule very happy with that easy kill. But, okay, the big guns have arrived. Maybe in DDC rotating in once more. Omni Slash comes out, but Sylar gets bounced onto the creep wave. Tule's still alright, but Sylar's quite low, and the tree line is still plenty of protection for Newbie. So it looks like LGD just gonna give up on the dive, give up on the tower. And that is a huge amount of wasted time for them. As Day is also gonna break. And DDC is no longer nearly as scary as he was. RTK, with some of the rotations being forced towards top, has gotten a little bit more for himself, but Surge is actually on cooldown, and he might just be dead. Moo gonna drop out a couple of remnants. Secures that one. MMY TPing in, and he's just gonna get burned down as well. Moo picks up the easy double. Banana grabbing one of the last hits there. That was just a clown show bottom lane. Okay, I kind of hope that RTK just gives up on the off lane and starts moving into the jungle. He might be telling himself, and his team might be telling him, that they need the jungle for the Shadow Fiend and the Jug, so that they can free up top lane for the Lion potentially. So there might not be that space available, but the LGD game plan is really off the rails right now. They at a net worth deficit, experience deficit, no towers taken.
Middle tower is
I
under
mean,
attack.
maybe it's still pretty huge on the Shadow Fiend, and same case for Sylar on the Jug, but I feel like they're really not happy with how things have played out so far. And they've got all these deep wards down. You can see the intent. They want to get the vision, get the pick off, get the tower. But so far, Newbie have really stumped him, and I think a lot of that comes down to Tule. He's grabbed his level 6, has picked himself up a kill, and he's been involved in a lot of these really crucial defenses so far. And that means Hao is just going to keep on ticking up towards his Radiance. That looks like LGD going to try and fire back a little bit. MMY with a ward in hand, ready to establish some deep vision as they make their way into the Radiant jungle. I know that the Alchemist really wants access to all of these camps, and they want access to that sweet, sweet Alchemist bounty. They are going to spot out Banana. They've got the stun coming in. We'll be able to line it up. Moo, however, just around the corner, gets the side of his chains off. Banana is still surviving for a little bit longer, and Chizbug is here. Last auto attack gets blocked by the Grave. Is this going to get turned around on LGD? Looks like Moo's ability is just on cooldown a little bit too long for him to do anything, but that's another movement from LGD, successfully rebuked by Newbie. Looks like Sylar is going to have another attempt at this top tower. Going to spin through. TP coming in from the Ember Spirit. Needs to be a little bit careful. Echo Slime gets dropped just a little bit too early, but the Omni Slash bounces onto Moo. Tule survives. Doesn't have a Fissure, but Moo's still burning down Sylar. Doesn't have the spin to be able to TP out for another 4 seconds. And might still have to Mango to be able to. Pops the Mango. And there goes the spin TP. Is going to be able to escape. Bane TPing in, but no grip. So it's another Omni Slash. No kill. Another attempt at the tower. No tower. And all the while, Hao just continuing to farm away. Already 4.2k gold. Up on the Alk. Maybe is still chilling bottom lane, hoping to get something done, but no luck so far. RTK just going to take over the mid lane for a little bit so that they can start working on the mech. And looks like maybe with all of those rotations forced top lane, LGD are going to be able to get at least their first tower of the game here. Maybe sitting on about 2k gold, but we've already got the Ring of Regen and a bunch of mech components picked up over in the Darks here, so we'll see what exactly the Shadow Fiend opts for. Again, we've seen Weeha and Envy favoring the Shadow Blade on Shadow Fiend as of late, but yeah, and it looks like it is going to be the case. Shadow Amulet picked up by Maybe here, so we'll see if he can make some stylish plays and get some pickoffs to start dragging his team back into this game a little bit. Not that they're out by any means. Net worth is still pretty close. Experience is still pretty close, but this early game really has not been as fast, I think, as LGD would have liked. Still really just waiting for RTK. DDC has his level 6. It's just popped off the darkness, so Newbie going to be huddling up underneath the tower. Tule wants to deny, is going to get it. MMY, no luck in finding that one. There's a rotation coming in from Sylar, but it's just a couple of auto attacks. There's no Omni Slash. For at least another 8 more seconds. Alright, tower down. That's going to reset the glyph on mid, but LGD break down all the tier 1s and start to make some inroads into the Newbie side of the map. So things now much more on track than they were, and Newbie's builds are still pretty greedy on the whole. It's actually, I thought it was going to be Boots of Travel flying out to move, but his farm has been slowed somewhat by the Darkseer. Speaking of poor Darkseer, RTK in trouble mid. He's going to be the recipient of that first Fiend's Grip out of Banana as Newbie continue to slow down this mech. Looks like RTK might have managed to buy a couple of components before going down, but still going to be another delay there. MMY, Finger of Death at the ready. What do we got? First, Shadowblade reveal as maybe look for this kill on Moo. Is he going to be able to get it? Yes, he will, just barely. Not even the Shadowblade. Looks like he just Shadow Amuleted in place. Meanwhile, another kill over on Banana. Finger's going to come out, and we'll pop him, so... Well, despite all of these sentries, Newbie still getting jumped inside of their own jungle and haven't been able to find all of the wards, in fact. Is this... Oh man, they tried to de-ward the camp and just around the corner, but LGD have even made it in far enough to place a ward up on the high ground, and LGD wastes no time, 2 pickoffs, easy peasy, Shadowblade picked up. Looks like they are just going to head straight into Russian. They've already got 2 points up in the presence of the Dark Lord, so making pretty quick work of this along with the healing ward. And Newbie's still really no response. Hal's just going to keep on farming away with the ready. Moo is somewhat combat ready, but I don't know how well he's going to be able to fight into this LGD 5-man, especially now that maybe has this Shadowblade. The sentry is going to spot him out, but it doesn't matter. Chizbug gets obliterated. Now Banana's the next one getting chased down. Hex comes out. He's not going to be able to do anything as another raise and a few more auto attacks bring him down. Maybe has a somewhat redundant Invis rune, but looks like as soon as that Shadowblade cools down, he's going to be out on the prowl and looking for some more kills. And heads over towards mid. How has the Chemical Rage running, but he's not all that tanky. The Radiant's mischance actually going to save him there. The Shadowblade backstab hit ended up missing. And I think that would have been enough burst for him to get the kill on How. I thought it looked like he misclicked, but I think it was actually just the... Yeah, that mispercent. So How gonna have to thank his lucky stars there. Moo is finding some somewhat dangerous farm now that they've been driven out of their own jungle. It does have a remnant up, but it's actually just this one over here, so it does need to be a little bit careful. They spot him out, just gonna TP around the corner. DDC getting blocked? Wait, no. Oh yeah, alright. So maybe you just had the Invis rune on. Not the Shadowblade. Alright, so it is a block. Meanwhile, Sylar, all on his lonesome bottom lane, is gonna get cleaned up. Looks like Fiend's Grip invested to find that one. Alright, so somewhat aggressive from Sylar, but it's going to create some space for maybe to work away on this tier 2 tower on the top side. So not the worst thing in the world. We are yet to see RTK make any use out of this mech, and it's still a little bit under-leveled, honestly. Only the 1 point in the vacuum, but he's at least ready to get involved, and maybe is starting to look a little bit monstrous. So we'll see what kind of a defense Newbie are going to be able to mount. I don't know where Tule found all of this farm, but he's almost got his Blink Dagger. So I feel like I can't commend this guy enough for his play so far this game. His team gave him the absolute hardest setup with no wards, no vision. A little bit of help. There were some TPs that came in, but he's really made the best of a pretty bad situation. Moo just trading some hits with Sylar here. Flame Guard gets dispelled. Moo feeling pretty safe with the fact that he has a remnant out. So just sticks around to grab a couple of extra creeps as LGD once again under the cover of smoke. Gonna start making their way down towards the bottom lane, maybe swinging over from mid as well. And it has just picked up a straight up Desolator. This is 100% glass cannon from maybe, but he still has the Aegis up for another 2 minutes. So yeah, it looks like LGD are really hoping to shut the door on this game pretty quickly before the Alchemist and the Ember Spirit start getting too farmed. Alx just opted for some Boots of Travel, so we're not going to be seeing at least the Manta style in the build here, as he's just grabbed himself a Vitality booster. Maybe, is he going to get the backstab here? This time around he gets it. Couple of misses coming out, but will still finish the kill with the raise. Unstoppable streak for Maybe there. I mean, How just thinking he was safe. I think he saw a couple of heroes down on the bottom side of the map. Assumed that the Shadow Fiend was going to be with them 5-manning, but LGD are actually looking for kills all over the place. Moo drops a Remnant towards the high ground, but just going to walk himself out. So it looks like he's going to be alright. Has to be careful though. They get the vision. Maybe can he get an auto attack off here? I think it might be enough to pop Moo all by itself. Get the silence out. The Grave comes in. Too Late jumps in, revealing the Blink Dagger. But is just going to be enough to get the Aegis? Do they have any follow-up? That's the question. Moo going to come forward. Look to the Sleight of Fist chains. Maybe is still pretty squishy, and the mech has already been used. But looks like no follow-up just yet. It's actually MMY and Sylar, considering coming in from the side. Couple of pings coming out. So maybe we'll just dart back. Glyph is used, and it looks like Newbie are hoping to mount a defense. Gonna throw down the Acid Spray. Radiant starts clearing up the creeps, and is gonna be enough for LGD to sound their retreat. They're gonna steal all of the Radiant jungle in the meantime, and are gonna continue to push out this net worth lead and this experience lead that they've started building up. So it looks like, despite the slow start, not really gonna end up mattering in the slightest for LGD. And oh my god, is this gonna be like a 2-shot double damage shadow? Chizbug's just gone. Farewell, Chizbug. There's the Hex, looking for the kill on Moo. Finger gets dropped. Couple of auto attacks, easy kill. Wicked 6 streak for Maybe. Poor Chizbug just wanted to be able to save the Ember, but finds a pretty terrible fate. And this Shadow Blade has been doing so much work. I was a little bit hesitant, and I was like, you know, we and Envy have been doing it, but looks like Maybe follows the same school of thought, and he really makes it work. And he's even... The other thing is that he's been putting sentry pressure on the enemy team's supports. There's no Invis heroes on LGD otherwise, so he's kind of getting the full value of the fear from Newbie, because they feel that they have to put down sentries around the place, otherwise their cores are just going to keep getting picked off. And that's kind of ruining the economy of these supports. Chizbug has nothing. Banana has next to nothing, only a slight notch above the Dazzle right now. And RTK is pretty much fully caught up, has his 4 points in vacuum. Looks like LGD probably content to just wait for the next Roshan and then try and start working their way up towards the high ground. Sylar hasn't even really been a slouch on farm, just picked up a Battle Fury, so looks like he's going to start picking up the pace from here. And this is the build that we've, I want to say, really seen Burning favoring as of late on the Jug. Battle Fury with the phase boots. Still kind of run around and use the Omni Slash and get involved in the early game, but then kind of sit back and do more from there. Gonna miss a kill bottom as How just gets bursted down. Banana silenced up. He's still pretty fast. Looks like that is going to be enough to get him up onto the high ground and out of harm's way, but the same cannot be said of How. Gets brought down once again. Has 2.7k gold here, but he's still going to need like a heart and an AC to be able to deal with this Shadow Fiend right click. And I think that's the most surprising thing, that he hasn't picked up any armor at all. Even the Manta Octarine Core build, at least you get a little bit of armor from the Yasha agility, but no such luck here. Moo's gonna get silenced. MMI blinks in. They get the Grave off, but is that gonna really do anything to vacuum? Still wasting a little bit of duration. They just right-click the Bane down in the back lines.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
And LGD surge forward. They don't need that Aegis to pick up this 2-2, and are they gonna decide to push on a little bit further? Looks like no. For the time being, they're gonna be content with the fact that they have Newbie completely cooped up inside of their base. Can't go anywhere for fear of the Shadow Fiend just 1 or 2-shotting them. Too Late still has this Blink Dagger in reserve, so LGD still showing a little bit of respect to Newbie in not pushing up onto the high ground, but Moo is not scary at all, not even the slightest sign of his Battle Fury just yet, and I mean, How has to go and try and grab some farm somewhere, but looks like he might once again be in some trouble. Sylar comes running forward. They don't have the Omni Slash, but DDC's looping around from behind. Too Late jumps in with the huge Echo Slam, dunks one. Looks like they should be able to find Sylar as well. He's spinning away. DDC getting right-click down. They laid the trap, and how many will they find? Sylar gets stunned up. Double kill for Too Late. Finds the mega kill streak. What? How? They have 10 kills, and Too Late is on a mega kill streak from this off-lane Earthshaker. Alright. Signs of life for Newbie here.
Dire's top tower is under
Some
attack.
signs of life. The next Aegis is still going to be the true test, but
Dire's structures are fortified.
yeah, they're gonna rush it onto the map, grab a tower. It's the first tier 1 of the game, but it's the first tower at all of the game for Newbie here. How's got himself a plate mail, so looking a little bit more survivable in the face of that Omni Slash and all of this Shadow Fiend right click.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
But he's still not all that far ahead of the Shadow Fiend, and this is really a testament to the performance that Maybe has had so far. 9-0 and 2, keeping pace on farm with the Alch on the enemy team. He has, in fairness, popped the Alchemist gold pinata a couple of times and gotten all the gold that spills out that way, but still very impressive from him. And another Roshan cleaned up, another Aegis claimed, and we'll see if Newbie can survive the onslaught. Move's still trying to grab some farm. Has just completely ditched the Battle Fury idea. He's looking for a Manta style to try and deal with this Night Stalker silence, but it does somewhat weaken his high ground defense. Sentry Ward's gonna end up scanning at 1. Moo gets vacuumed back. They should still have the Grave. Potentially defensive sleep is actually gonna be enough to keep him alive here as RTK ends up being gripped up. Tule comes running in, but needs to be careful. Auto attack comes out for Maybe, but it doesn't find the kill. DDC comes running in from the side. The Grave nicely held. Might be able to get Tule back up onto the high ground. How's just getting right-clicked down, however. No uphill miss for him there, as Maybe picks up the Beyond Godlike streak. Has to retreat back through the Acid Spray. That's not gonna kill him off. Moo. Earn on earn. Looks like he's gonna be alright as Chizbug continues to heal him back up, but they've got an Urn of their own. They've got a Healing Ward. And maybe he's gonna go right back up to full HP. RTK not even really getting too many spells out there.
Radiant structures
LGD
are
unconcerned.
fortified.
Still have the Aegis. Gonna start working away at the high ground. Banana's grip on cooldown for a little bit longer. And no pressure being applied elsewhere, so all eyes on bottom lane right now. And nice Slider Fish chains coming out. MMY gonna tank a little bit of damage. Maybe just gonna back himself up. Alright, they've still got plenty of time to back off, rinse, repeat. They've only used 1.5 minutes on the Aegis so far. So I think this is a very sensible decision from LGD. I wonder what item maybe he's gonna go for. The Desolator is a somewhat unusual orb effect pickup on the Shadow Fiend, I think, compared to your much more standard Scotty, lifesteal, etc., etc. So we'll see what he can do to tank up here. It could even be worth grabbing a heart on the Shadow Fiend, as ridiculous as that sounds. It's an amazing high ground siege item, and that's really the only situation that LGD are finding themselves in, is being forced to siege up onto the high ground. But who knows, maybe I think maybe probably has other plans. BKB is still alright. Earthshaker's made some pretty big plays so far, but yeah, okay, it's just gonna be the BKB. Comes Shadowblading in, looking for How. He's pretty fast. The Sentry Ward's gonna give How some warning. There is an angry Shadow Fiend looking for him. Looks like maybe he's just gonna back himself up. Newbie are still totally pinned inside of the base, but they've at least managed to stem the bleeding on net worth. Experience is still continuing to drift down in LGD's favor, and looks like they're just content to perhaps wait for this Aghanim Scepter to come up for the Night Stalker. It's going to make the high ground breach substantially easier. They can coordinate a jump in with the Darkseer and the Lion to maybe even grab 2 heroes and just blow them up instantly. So I think that's probably the item that they're waiting for, but the question is whether or not that's enough time to be able to go and still get some value out of this Aegis. Looks like it should still be alright. About 1 minute and 50 seconds remaining on the Aegis. Maybe he's on the hunt. Gonna look for the Requiem. Nope, just gonna come out with the auto attacks. Chunks move. He jumps himself back into the trees. He's almost got his Manta Style. Speaking of Manta Style, we've also got one picked up for the Alch, so it looks like How's decided that wants a little bit more agi, wants a little bit more armor, and I think wants the ability to farm remotely, just doesn't really feel safe. Maybe runs into trouble, however, there was a grip waiting for him. Aegis is going to be popped, but how quickly can LGD support arrive? Does he have that BKB? He does. It's been delivered. Fisher a little bit off the mark. Won't find the stun. Maybe pops the BKB, drops the Requiem. but Newbie are already out of there. They did not know how close LGD were. Move, gets stunned up, but Chizbug still just around the corner. Ready with the grave. Looks like they're going to be alright. And do LGD still want to try for something here? The Ags is flying out, but the BKB is on cooldown for a minute. And it's... I think they probably just wait for the next Roche. I think patience is a virtue for LGD right now. What else do we have? So Moo should be getting his Manta any second. Is he debating not completing it? He might be. The other issue is getting the courier to the side shop, or to the secret shop. But maybe he's considering that he just actually needs the Battle Fury. Oh my god. Okay, Tule gets caught out bottom lane. He'll be brought down. Looks like he was trying to hide inside the trees, but that's the Aghanim Scepter from DDC going to work. And finding an easy kill there. And they've got the gem picked up now as well, so map control getting harder and harder for Newbie to sustain. Chizbug is still just spending all of his gold on Sentry Wards. Pretty much the same story for Banana. I think RTK comes running in, gets the vacuum back onto Chizbug. A little bit of body blocking going on. Moving to come in and try and save his support, but will he be able to? I'm not quite so sure. MOY comes running in. They split focus. They're looking for Moo. The Omni Slash bounces onto the Dazzle. Prevents him from getting the Grave off as maybe swoops in on the back lines. And just right-clicks down the Bane. Moo is still outside of the base. Picks up his ultimate orb, but now he has to make his way back. Looks like he's going to be alright. RTK didn't end up going down in the midst of all of that. So Banana at least finding something for his troubles. And Newbie still, to their credit, holding onto the high ground. LGD showing a lot of respect to the Earthshaker and the Ember Spirit. The more I think about it, I'm not sure if I'm convinced about the Manta. The obvious application is dispelling the silence from the Night Stalker. It's also pretty good if you see the Lion jumping in. If you can pop the Manta, you can disrupt his initiation, and maybe he hexes the wrong thing, but I'm still not sure if it's safe enough. We'll have to see. I think the other argument is up. Silard. Alright. Tule dropped the Echo on his head top. I gotta be paying more attention. But it's another kill picked up for Newbie. That's Echo on cooldown. I don't know if that's enough impetus for LGD to try and head up onto the high ground. They saw that sentry with the gem, but they didn't kill it, I think. I don't know, maybe not giving away their position since there isn't an observer ward in the neighborhood. Courier gets spotted out. How gets his Octarine core delivered, and is just going to be able to swing over towards mid. It's another 30 seconds bought for Newbie. Looks like Roshan going to be popping up sometime within the next 3 minutes. As LGD come running around the corner, they're looking for How. They get the stun out. Right click's flying in as well. Grave is there. Chizbug just around the corner. Gets that one off with the vacuum into the wall. Not great from RTK. How still surviving. RTK now being gripped. Maybe gliding forward, but he can't really find any right clicks. Moo looking to jump away. Is going to find it. No kills so far in this fight. Good defensive play from Chizbug. As Newbie once again pull away unscathed. RTK committing his full combo there, but I'm not finding anything. And well, right place, right time for Chizbug. Just getting that Grave out. And that's why you max the Grave, just so you can get that crazy range. Chizbug wasn't even on screen when that Grave went out, but the save How, and Newbie now looking for an immediate counterplay. They don't have the Echo for 30 seconds, but I think they're hoping to once again maybe find the Shadow Fiend pushing out a little bit too far. Maybe has adjusted his plays somewhat to start being a little bit more defensive, and he's now going for what looks like a butterfly. I think this is a kind of a weird choice. I don't know if he needs more damage necessarily. How's sieging away on the high ground. Newbie waiting patiently up on the hill, holding onto the high ground. They're gonna spot at RTK, starting to burst him for now. Tule jumps in, drops the enchant totem. It's on to 2, but RTK looks for the vacuum. They focused down one. Moo's already dead. Tule now dropping the Echo, being saved by the grave, backing up. It looks like he will burn down to the Urn Charge. DDC charging forward. Now looking for Chizbug. He's got a TP, but 3 swipes is going to be all that it takes for maybe to find that kill. They've also locked down Banana. Double kill as maybe extends his Beyond Godlike streak.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Newbie made a bid to get that tier 1 tower and try and find a fight, but LGD just too far in the trees, and it just took too long for the rest of their heroes to get in position.
Radiant's middle tower is under
Didn't find the immediate kill on RTK, and now their high ground is in a lot of trouble. They're still pretty low level, so it's only going to be 20 seconds until they pop back up, but with no Echo, this is looking like a very difficult hold.
Radiant's middle tower
Alf going to do
has
his
fallen.
best with the Radiant solutions to slow things down somewhat, but they've still got the Guardian Greaves and the Darkseer.
Has fallen.
Looks like they should be able to get at least the one lane of Rex just fine. LGD, how patient are they going to be? Roshan has respawned, and it looks like that's probably going to be the call from them as they back themselves up. And that'll be another Aegis secured for maybe. I don't know what he gets rid of to be able to take that Aegis. Maybe just gets rid of the Shadow Blade temporarily. Or maybe he just gives it over to the Jug. Haven't even been talking about Salar really all that much this game, and he's just picked himself up a Blink Dagger and a BKB, so it looks like doing his best to follow up on the initiation from MMY and RTK. And I think Newbie realized exactly what's going on. Yeah, they're going to scout at Roshan. They know that it's respawned, and I think they know that they can't really afford to give it away. If they give away the Aegis to the Shadow Fiend, he's just going to siege another lane of Rex absolutely for free. So they have to try and take this fight, but unfortunately they don't really have any vision to work with. The darkness is available, and that gives DDC full vision here. Comes running in. Sylar jumps in with the Omni Slash. There's going to be a grave to save Banana, but unfortunately Dazzle can't save himself, and Moo, without the benefit of supports, has already been found out and killed off. Hao finds himself in the middle of the entire LGD lineup, healing up a little bit off the Octarine core, but maybe he's just going to chunk him down, and that's going to be 4 for nothing as the GG gets called. Newbie are going to be tapping out here in game 1. So LGD started slow. Things did not look great. I thought the game plan was a little bit off the rails, but maybe 100% puts his team on his back and just doesn't necessarily win the game single-handedly, but an extremely impressive individual performance. So that's going to wrap it up for game 1, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to stick around for game 2 coming up next.